The DNA test was a lie. I was brought here for my organs. My name is Marcus Stone, and I lived on the streets for 3 years after losing everything. He was Richard Morrison, a billionaire businessman worth $200 million. But none of that mattered when I woke up strapped to a medical table in his basement. Who was the dying man in the next room? What was Richard's real plan? Sit back and discover this dark story that will shake you.
Let me take you back to where it all started. I was 34 years old. My life fell apart when my construction company went bankrupt. I lost my wife, my house, my dignity. The streets of Chicago became my home. Every night I slept under the bridge on West Madison Street, wrapped in cardboard boxes that smelled of rain and regret. I wasn't always homeless. I'd built houses for families. I had employees who called me boss, but debt crushed me. My wife left with our daughter Emma. She was only 6 years old. I watched them drive away in my lawyer's car. That was 4 years ago. Now I stood outside the Grand Plaza Hotel every morning holding a cardboard sign. I watched people in expensive suits walk past me without looking. Their shoes cost more than I made in a month when I had money. The cold bit through my torn jacket. My hands were always numb, but I didn't know that my life was about to change in the worst possible way. One freezing November morning, an old man collapsed right in front of me. He was maybe 70 years old, wearing a gray wool coat that probably cost thousands. His face went white. He grabbed his chest. People walked around him. Nobody stopped. I dropped my sign and ran to him. I held his head. His skin felt cold and clammy under my dirty hands. "Sir, can you hear me?" I asked. My voice was rough from not talking much these days. His eyes opened. They were sharp, calculating, even in pain. "My pills," he whispered. "Inside pocket." I found a small bottle. My hands shook as I gave him 2 pills. He swallowed them dry. We sat there on the cold sidewalk for maybe 10 minutes. His breathing slowly became normal. The city moved around us, but nobody cared. "What's your name?" he asked finally. "Marcus," I said. "Marcus Stone." He studied my face for a long moment. Something flickered in his eyes, but I couldn't read it. "You saved my life, Marcus. I'm Richard Morrison." I nodded. The name meant nothing to me then. "Where do you live?" he asked. I pointed at the bridge down the street. "Under there." He stood up slowly, brushing off his expensive coat. "Come with me." "Sir, I don't want charity," I started. "It's not charity," he said. His voice was firm, commanding. "You saved my life. I'm offering you a job. I need someone at my house, security, maintenance, whatever you can do. You'll have a room, food, and pay." Maybe you face such situations too, standing at a crossroads where pride fights with survival. Looked at his face. It seemed sincere. What did I have to lose? "Okay," I said quietly. His driver pulled up in a black Mercedes. The leather seats felt strange after years of concrete and cardboard. Richard didn't talk much during the drive. He made phone calls, speaking in quiet tones about business matters I didn't understand. We drove for 40 minutes north to Lake Forest. The houses got bigger, the streets cleaner. Finally, we turned into a long driveway. The mansion appeared through the trees. It was massive stone and glass with perfectly trimmed hedges. A fountain stood in the circular driveway. "Welcome to Morrison Estate," Richard said. Little did I know this beautiful prison would nearly cost me my life. A woman in her 50s opened the front door. She had gray hair pulled back tight, wearing a black uniform. Her face was hard, suspicious. "Mr. Morrison, who is this?" she asked. "This is Marcus Stone. He'll be staying with us. Prepare the East Wing guest room. Get him clothes, toiletries, whatever he needs." "But sir," she protested, "that's an order, Helen." His voice cut like ice. Helen's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Follow me," she said to me. The inside of the house was even more impressive. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, paintings that looked expensive. Helen led me up a curved staircase down a long hallway. The guest room was bigger than any apartment I ever had. A king bed, private bathroom, walk-in closet. "Bathroom is there. I'll bring clothes in an hour. Dinner's at 7, Helen said coldly, and left. I stood alone in that room, feeling completely out of place. I caught my reflection in the mirror. 3 years on the street showed on my face. My beard was long and matted, my skin weathered and dirty, my clothes were rags. The shower was the best thing I'd felt in years. Hot water, real soap, clean towels. I watched the dirt wash away down the drain. When I got out, clean clothes were laid on the bed. Jeans, shirts, underwear, all in my size. How did Helen know my size? Dinner that night was awkward. The dining room had a table that could seat 20 people. Richard sat at the head, me at his right. Helen served roasted chicken, vegetables, wine. I ate slowly, trying to remember table manners. "Tell me about yourself, Marcus," Richard said. I told him about my construction company, the bankruptcy, my wife leaving. He listened carefully, asking questions. His interest seemed genuine. "What happened to your daughter?" he asked. "Emma lives with her mother in Arizona. I haven't seen her in 4 years." My voice caught. That pain never went away. Richard nodded slowly. "Family is everything, Marcus. Everything." Something in his tone made me look up. His face had gone distant, sad. "I had a son once," he said quietly. "Daniel. He died 5 years ago. Car accident. He was 28. "I'm sorry," I said. We ate in silence after that. The food was good, but I couldn't enjoy it. Something felt off about this whole situation, but I couldn't put my finger on it. What I didn't see coming was that Richard's interest in me wasn't random kindness at all. Days turned into weeks. My job was simple. I did maintenance around the property, fixed broken things, helped with security. Richard paid me $500 a week, gave me 3 meals a day, a comfortable bed. It was paradise compared to the streets. But there were rules, strict rules. Never go into the basement. That area was off limits. Never ask about Richard's business. Never leave the property without permission. Helen watched me constantly. I felt her cold eyes following me everywhere. Richard and I had dinner together most nights. He asked me questions about my past, my health, my family history. At first I thought he was just being friendly, but the questions got more specific. "Did anyone in your family have heart problems?" he asked one night. "No," I said. "My dad died at 85. Heart was fine. Mom's still alive at 78. He wrote something in a small notebook. I saw him do this several times." "What about Emma? Is she healthy?" he asked another night. "Yes, perfectly healthy last I heard." More notes. I started to feel uncomfortable. Why did he care so much about my medical history? But I pushed the feeling down. He had saved me from the streets. I owed him. Then came the doctor visit. That's when everything started to unravel. Richard knocked on my door one morning. "Marcus, I've arranged a full medical checkup for you. Just routine. I want to make sure you're healthy. Make sure those years on the street didn't damage you." It seemed reasonable. We drove to a private clinic in downtown Chicago. The doctor was young, professional. He took blood samples, did x-rays, ran tests I didn't understand. The whole thing took 3 hours. "You're remarkably healthy," the doctor said at the end. "Strong heart, good lungs, excellent kidney function." Richard smiled at that, a strange smile that made my stomach tighten. "If you're questioning whether this is real, trust your instincts, like I should have trusted mine." 2 weeks later, Richard asked me to join him in his study. It was late evening. The study was all dark wood and leather chairs, bookshelves from floor to ceiling. A fire crackled in the fireplace. "Sit down, Marcus," he said. I sat. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed me one. "You've been here almost 3 months now," he said. "You've done good work. More importantly, you've become someone I trust." "Thank you, sir." He walked to the window, looked out at the dark grounds. "I want to tell you something about my son, Daniel." "You don't have to," I started. "No, I need to." He turned to face me. His face was pale in the firelight. "Daniel didn't die in a car accident. That's what I tell people. The truth is, he's still alive, but barely." My blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "He's here, in this house, in the basement. He's been in a vegetative state for 5 years. His heart is failing. His kidneys are shutting down. He needs a transplant, Marcus. He needs someone who is a perfect match." The room started spinning. "I don't understand." Richard walked closer. His eyes were intense, almost wild. "The medical tests we ran on you. We also ran Daniel's DNA. Marcus, you are a perfect match, 1 in 10 million odds. Your kidney, your liver tissue, everything matches perfectly. I stood up fast. The chair fell backward. No, no, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You can save my son's life. By giving him my organs, that would kill me. Not all of them, Richard said calmly. Just 1 kidney, part of your liver. People live with 1 kidney all the time. The liver regenerates. I backed toward the door. You're insane. This whole thing was a setup. You didn't save me. You found me. He didn't deny it. I've been searching for a match for 3 years. My people track homeless populations in 5 cities. When you appeared near my hotel that day, the heart attack wasn't real. I needed to get close to you, to bring you here, to test you. This situation wasn't unique. Countless people have been exploited when they were most vulnerable. Everything fell apart. The kindness, the job, the comfort. It was all a lie. He had hunted me, chosen me because I was alone, because nobody would miss me. I'll give you $2 million, Richard said. After the surgery, you'll never have to worry about money again. You could get Emma back. For a second, I hesitated. $2 million. I could change my life. But then I thought about waking up with missing parts, about being carved up to save a stranger. No, I said firmly. Find another way. His face changed. The friendly businessman disappeared. What remained was something cold, something capable of anything. I'm afraid you don't understand, Marcus. This isn't a request. He pressed a button on his desk. The door opened. 2 men in suits walked in. They were huge, built like security guards. One had a syringe. I ran. I got maybe 5 steps before they grabbed me. I fought hard, throwing punches, but they were professionals. The needle pierced my neck. The world went blurry. I heard Richard's voice, distant and cold. Take him to the medical wing. Prep him. We begin tomorrow. Then everything went black. I woke up strapped to a hospital bed. Bright lights above me. The smell of disinfectant. My head pounded. Leather restraints held my wrists and ankles. I couldn't move. The room was white tile, medical equipment everywhere. Monitors beeped. An IV drip was in my arm. Through a glass partition, I could see another room. In that room was a bed. On that bed was a man. Young, maybe 30, pale as death. Tubes and machines kept him alive. Daniel Morrison, Richard's son. A door opened. Richard walked in wearing surgical scrubs. You're awake. Good. I wanted you to be conscious for this conversation. You can't do this, I said. My voice was hoarse. I can do whatever I want, Marcus. Do you know how much power $200 million dollars buys? This is a private medical facility in my basement. The doctors work for me. There's no record of you being here. If you die during surgery, you'll just be another homeless man who froze to death somewhere. People will look for me. Who? You have no family, no friends. Nobody knows you're here. He was right. I was nobody. He leaned close. I've lost everything that mattered to me. My wife died 10 years ago. Daniel's all I have left. I will not let him die. Not when I finally found a way to save him. By killing me, you'll survive the surgery, probably, and you'll be rich. I don't want your money. Then you're a fool. That's when it all fell apart. The door burst open. Helen rushed in, her face frightened. Mr. Morrison, we have a problem. The police are here. Someone called them. Richard's face went white with rage. Who? There's nobody else here. The girl, the cleaning girl. She heard everything. She's gone. I heard sirens in the distance. Red and blue lights flashed through the basement windows. Richard's carefully constructed plan was collapsing around him. Get him out of here, Richard shouted at the guards. Move him to the storage room, now! The guards started unbuckling my restraints. This was my chance, my only chance. When my right hand came free, I swung hard. My fist connected with the first guard's jaw. He stumbled backward into the medical equipment. The second guard grabbed me, but adrenaline made me strong. I headbutted him. He let go. I ripped the IV from my arm. Blood sprayed. I didn't care. I ran for the door. Richard tried to block me. You don't understand what you're doing, he screamed. I shoved him aside. He fell hard against the wall. I burst through the door into a long corridor. Fluorescent lights hurt my eyes. More doors lined the hallway. Which way was out? Behind me, footsteps pounded. The guards were coming. I ran left, throwing open doors as I went. A storage room, another medical room, a morgue with steel tables. What kind of operation was Richard running down here? The corridor ended at a staircase. I took the stairs 3 at a time. My bare feet slapped against cold concrete. My hospital gown flapped behind me. The door at the top was locked. I threw my shoulder against it, once, twice. The wood cracked. The 3rd time it burst open. I stumbled into the main house, the grand entrance hall where I'd first arrived 3 months ago. Now it looked different, sinister. How many other people had Richard brought here? How many had died in that basement? The front door was 30 feet away. Freedom. But voices came from that direction. The police were already inside. If I ran to them covered in blood, would they believe me? Or would Richard's money and lawyers make me look crazy? Everything was about to change in ways I never expected. I turned and ran toward the kitchen instead. Helen stood there, frozen with shock. Her cold eyes met mine. For a second, neither of us moved. "Please," I said. "Help me." Something flickered in her face. Not kindness exactly, but maybe recognition of how wrong this all was. She pointed to a door behind her. "Service entrance, go." I ran past her. The door led to a mudroom, then outside into the cold November night. My bare feet hit frozen grass. The shock of cold air filled my lungs. I ran toward the tree line at the edge of the property. Behind me, shouts erupted from the house. The forest was dark and thick. Branches tore at my hospital gown. My feet found rocks and thorns. I didn't stop. I crashed through the darkness, putting distance between me and that house of horrors. After maybe 10 minutes of running, I collapsed against a tree. My lungs burned. My feet were bleeding. The hospital gown was shredded. I was freezing, but I was free. Those who experience such moments never forget the taste of freedom mixed with terror. I could still hear activity back at the house, more sirens arriving, voices shouting commands, flashlight beams cutting through the trees. They were searching for me, but I had a head start. I forced myself to stand. I needed to get to a road, flag down a car, someone who could help me. I stumbled through the forest, using moonlight to guide me. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow could be a guard. Then I heard something that made my blood freeze. Dogs barking. Richard had search dogs. They would find me in minutes. I ran faster, ignoring the pain in my feet. The barking got louder, closer. I broke through the tree line onto a small country road, empty in both directions. No cars, no lights, nothing. The dogs were maybe 100 yards behind me now. I could hear handlers shouting. I ran down the middle of the road, my bloody footprints marking my path. This was it. They would catch me, drag me back. This time, Richard would make sure I never woke up. Then I saw headlights. A car coming fast from the north. I ran toward it, waving my arms. "Stop! Please stop!" The car swerved, almost hit me, then screeched to a halt. An old pickup truck. The driver's door opened. A woman in her 60s looked out, her face shocked. "What in God's name?" she started. "Please, I'm being chased. I need help. Call the police." She saw the hospital gown, the blood, my desperation. Maybe she saw the truth in my eyes. "Get in!" I jumped into the passenger seat. She hit the gas before I even closed the door. We sped down the dark road. Through the rear window, I saw the dogs burst onto the pavement, handlers behind them. But we were gone. "I'm calling 911 right now," the woman said, pulling out her phone. "Who's chasing you? What happened?" "Richard Morrison," I gasped. "The billionaire. He tried to harvest my organs. He has a medical facility in his basement. There's a cleaning girl who saw everything. She called the police, but I don't know if they'll believe her." The woman's hands shook as she dialed. "This is Barbara Chen. I'm on Route 41 North. I just picked up a man fleeing from the Morrison estate, he says. He says someone tried to remove his organs. Yes, I'm serious. He's hurt. We need police and ambulance." She looked at me. "They're sending units. We're going to the police station in Lake Forest, 5 minutes away." If you also love such mysteries, you know that the truth is often stranger than any fiction. But what I didn't know was that the real surprise was still coming. The Lake Forest police station was a small brick building. 3 police cars were parked outside, but most of the force was at Morrison Estate. We pulled up and Barbara helped me inside. My legs were shaking now, shock setting in. A young officer jumped up from his desk. "Sir, are you Marcus Stone?" "Yes," I said. "How do you know my name?" "A girl named Maria Lopez came here 30 minutes ago. She works at Morrison Estate. She told us everything. We have units there now. Sir, you need medical attention. They wrapped me in blankets, called an ambulance, but I refused to go to the hospital until I knew what happened at the house. The cleaning girl, Maria, is she safe? I asked. She's in protective custody. She recorded Richard Morrison on her phone. We heard everything, his confession, his plan, all of it. The pieces started clicking together. Maria must have been in the basement cleaning when Richard brought me to that medical room. She heard him explain the whole sick plan. She was brave enough to record it, to run, to get help. Within an hour, more information came in. Police found the illegal medical facility in Morrison's basement. They found Daniel Morrison alive but in critical condition. They found medical records showing Richard had been searching for organ matches for 3 years. They found files on 12 other homeless people who had disappeared. 12 others. I wasn't the first, but I might be the last. Where's Richard now? I asked. The officer's face was grim. He's in custody. But here's the thing, Mr. Stone. When we arrested him, he said something strange. He kept saying, "I know who you really are. I know who you are." My stomach dropped. What does that mean? We're not sure, but we ran your DNA through our database as part of the evidence collection. Mr. Stone, there's something you need to know. What happens next will shock you. A detective arrived. She was in her 40s, professional, with kind eyes. Mr. Stone, I'm Detective Sarah Williams. Can we talk privately? They took me to a small room. Just me, the detective, and a lot of questions I didn't want to hear. When did Richard Morrison first approach you? She asked. 3 months ago. He had a heart attack. I helped him. He offered me a job. It wasn't random, was it? No. He admitted he'd been searching for a match. He tracked homeless populations. She pulled out a file. We found Richard's research. He didn't just search randomly. He was looking for someone specific, someone with a genetic connection to Daniel Morrison. The room started spinning again. What are you saying? Mr. Stone, 35 years ago, Richard Morrison had an affair. He was married, but he had a relationship with a woman named Catherine Stone. She got pregnant. She never told him. She raised the baby alone. No, this couldn't be real. That baby was you, Marcus. Richard Morrison is your biological father. Daniel Morrison is your half-brother. I couldn't breathe. The detective kept talking, but her words came from far away. My father. The man who tried to harvest my organs was my father. The man dying in the basement was my brother. When Catherine Stone died 6 years ago, Richard hired investigators to find you. It took them 2 years. When they finally located you on the streets of Chicago, Richard started his plan. The heart attack was staged. He needed to get close to you, to test your DNA, to confirm you were his son, and therefore a perfect match for Daniel. He knew, I whispered. All this time he knew I was his son, and he was going to kill me anyway. Detective Williams nodded slowly. That's what he said to you, remember? I know who you are. He didn't just mean your name. He meant he knew you were his son, and he chose Daniel's life over yours. This durumdolan tek kishio deilde, but few would make such a monstrous choice. The full horror of it crashed over me. My biological father had found me, not to reconnect, not to make amends for abandoning my mother, but to literally cut me apart, to save the son he actually raised, the son he loved. I was nothing but spare parts to him. There's more, the detective said quietly. We've been in contact with your ex-wife in Arizona, Emma, your daughter. She's been trying to find you for a year. She's 10 years old now. She wants to see you. Tears I'd been holding back for years finally broke free. Emma wanted to see me. My daughter still loved me. In the middle of this nightmare, there was that small light. Can I call her? I asked. Soon. First, we need your statement, then medical treatment, then yes, we'll arrange a call. I spent the next 3 hours telling them everything, every detail from the moment Richard collapsed on the sidewalk to the moment Barbara Chen picked me up on the road. They recorded it all, photographed my injuries, collected evidence. Around 4 a.m., they finally let me rest. They put me in a hotel room with a guard outside. I lay in a real bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. My father tried to kill me. I had a brother I never knew. 12 other people had died in Richard's search for a cure. And somehow, miraculously, I was alive. The next morning, they transferred me to a hospital. Not for surgery this time, but for treatment. My feet needed stitches. I was dehydrated, malnourished. The doctor who examined me said I was lucky to be alive. The surgery Richard planned, the doctor explained, it was far more extensive than he told you. He wasn't just taking one kidney and part of your liver. Based on the equipment we found in Daniel's condition, he planned to take both kidneys, most of your liver, and your heart. You would have died on that table. Daniel would have received your organs through what they'd call a tragic accident. So Richard had lied, even in his confession. There was never any $2 million. There was never any survival, just my death and Daniel's salvation. Looking back now, I realize how close I came to disappearing completely. Over the next few days, the story exploded in the media. Billionaire Richard Morrison arrested for conspiracy to commit murder. Illegal medical facility discovered. 12 missing homeless people, all potential donors, all dead. The only survivor was his own biological son, the son he abandoned 35 years ago. The public was horrified. Richard's business empire collapsed. His friends and associates vanished. He sat alone in a jail cell, waiting for trial. But the question everyone asked was, what about Daniel? What would happen to the dying man in the basement who knew nothing about his father's crimes? That's where the real twist came, the one that changed everything. A week after my escape, I got a visitor at the hospital. Helen, Richard's housekeeper. The woman who had stood cold and distant for 3 months, who had pointed me to freedom that night. "I need to tell you something," she said. She looked 10 years older, her face lined with guilt. "I've worked for Mr. Morrison for 20 years. I knew about his search. I knew about the others before you. I didn't help them. I watched them disappear and said nothing." "Why?" I asked. Not with anger, just exhaustion, fear, money, loyalty, all the wrong reasons. But when I saw you strapped to that table, when I heard the sirens and knew it might finally end, I couldn't stay silent anymore. That's why I helped you escape. It doesn't make up for what I let happen, but it was all I could do. "Thank you," I said simply. "You saved my life." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "There's something else. Daniel." He woke up. "What?" "2 days ago. He's been in that vegetative state for 5 years, but he woke up. The doctors say it's a miracle. His brain function is returning. He's weak, but he's aware. And Mr. Stone, he wants to meet you." This story never ends where you expect it to. 3 days later, I was strong enough to travel. They took me in a wheelchair to the medical ward at Cook County Hospital. Daniel had been transferred there from Richard's basement facility. He had round-the-clock care now, legitimate doctors working to stabilize him. His room was bright and clean, nothing like that sterile prison in the basement. He lay in bed, pale and thin, but his eyes were open, alert. When I entered, those eyes focused on me with an intelligence that was unmistakable. "Marcus," he said. His voice was weak, barely above a whisper. "Daniel," I replied. We stared at each other, brothers, strangers, victims of the same man. "They told me everything," Daniel said slowly. "What our father did, what he planned to do to you, what he did to others. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. I was dying. For 5 years I was trapped inside my own body, aware but unable to move, unable to speak. I heard everything. I heard Dad talk about finding a donor. I heard him make plans, but I swear I never knew he was talking about murder. I thought it was legitimate medicine, legal donors." Tears ran down his thin face. "When I finally broke through the fog and woke up, the first thing I learned was that my father is a monster. The second thing was that I have a brother he tried to sacrifice for me." I moved my wheelchair closer to his bed. "We're both victims here, Daniel. You didn't ask for this. I want you to know something," he said with effort. "When I heard what Dad did, when I learned you were my brother, I made a decision. I'm refusing treatment." "What?" "No. Listen to me. I've been dying for 5 years. I've lived half a life, trapped in suffering. But you survived the streets, you survived Dad, you have a daughter waiting for you, you have a future. I'm not taking anything from you. I'm not accepting organs from anyone. I'm going to die with whatever dignity I have left." "Daniel, that's not necessary. There are other donors, legitimate ways. He smiled weakly. Maybe. But I need to do this. I need to make one choice that's mine, that's right. My father destroyed so many lives trying to save mine. I won't let another person suffer for me. Maybe you face such situations too, where someone's sacrifice forces you to reconsider everything. We talked for an hour. I learned about his life before the accident. He had been an artist, painted landscapes. He loved classical music. He had been engaged once, but she left when he got sick. He was lonely, even before he fell into that coma. In different circumstances, we might have been friends. Over the following weeks, I visited Daniel every day. We built something real, something good from the wreckage of Richard's crimes. We talked about our mother, Catherine, the woman who raised me alone. I showed him pictures. We shared stories. We became brothers in the way that mattered. And then the miracle happened. The real miracle, not the dark one Richard had planned. A legitimate donor was found. A 25-year-old man died in a motorcycle accident. His family agreed to organ donation. Daniel was on the transplant list. The match wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. The surgery happened on a cold morning in December. I sat in the waiting room for 8 hours. Helen was there, though she had lost her job and faced potential charges for her silence. Maria Lopez, the brave cleaning girl who recorded everything, came to wait with me. Barbara Chen, the woman who picked me up on the road, showed up with coffee and sandwiches. We were a strange group, connected by one night of horror, waiting to see if something good could come from it. The surgery was successful. Daniel survived. He would need years of recovery, therapy, and more surgeries. But he would live. A real life, not stolen life built on someone else's death. Richard Morrison went to trial 3 months later. I testified. So did Maria, Helen, and detectives who found evidence of 12 murders. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole. In the courtroom, Richard looked at me one final time. Our eyes met. I saw no remorse there, no regret, just cold calculation, even in defeat. He had chosen his path. He had chosen which son mattered more. He would die knowing he had failed both of us. I never spoke to him again. The civil lawsuits followed. The families of the 12 murdered homeless people sued Richard's estate. They won. Richard's entire fortune, all $200 million, was divided among the victims' families and used to establish a foundation for homeless advocacy and protection. I received $3 million as a victim. I didn't want it, but my lawyer convinced me it was compensation for what I'd been through. I took it. The first thing I did was fly to Arizona. Emma ran into my arms at the airport. She was 10 years old, beautiful, and she remembered me. We cried together. Her mother agreed to let me back into Emma's life. I rented an apartment nearby. I started seeing my daughter every weekend. With the money, I started a nonprofit. We provide medical care, housing assistance, and legal protection for homeless populations. We work with police to identify predators who target vulnerable people. We named it the Morrison 12 Foundation, in honor of those who died. Daniel joined the foundation when he was strong enough. He uses his art to raise awareness. He paints portraits of homeless individuals, giving them dignity and visibility. His work hangs in galleries now. Every painting tells a story. Helen volunteers with us, trying to make amends. Maria Lopez became our director of operations. Barbara Chen sits on our board. We're a family built from trauma, but still a family. 2 years have passed since that November night. I have a house now,